Greetings and welcome to MentorMe Memorable Moments, where we teach you a total life balance, which includes good health. Good health is good mental, good spiritual, good social, good financial, and good physical health. Each component is intertwined yet interdependent, creating a single health entity. Yeah, so I am Tracy Everett Duncan, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
William Craig III.
All right, always the third. And this is going to be a fantastic program tonight because
As usual.
We brought in all the tenants.
Yes.
And you want to know who we are?
Please tell us.
We are MentorMe Memorable Moments. Mental health. Why do you keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different outcome? That's insane. You're stuck. So let me help you get the stuck up out of here. We talked about the angry black female unleashed. We talked about how derogatory that statement is, and it's amazing how some people don't think that there's a problem with that statement at all.
What is the perception that I have about this woman that causes me to call her an angry black woman? And I believe in most cases what you will find is she's not an angry black woman. She's probably just an angry woman because of whatever has happened or whatever's going on, the foolishness that needs to stop. And the bottom line is that if you were placed in the same situation, you'd probably
be angry too.
Angry.
Okay, hello. Social health. Stop. Wait a minute now. It's not all about empowering the people. It's about growing businesses, creating entrepreneurships, and synergizing communities.
I was teaching, it was long-term unemployment and long-term, she was on public assistance for many years. And her son was getting beat down going back and forth home. So I asked her the question. I said, so you want him to get shot, killed, or what?
That's right.
Before you move. Oh, I can't move. We've been there for this many years. I'm on Section 8 and I get some. I said, so you care more about Section 8 than you care about your son getting back and forth to home?
That's right. Financial health. It's not all about the Benjamins. Let us teach you money management techniques and help you get ready for the currency change. It's coming. Talking to you about goals and destiny and spending and money, and you're saying, well, I don't have any of that. I'm trying to teach you how to go get it, how to find it. I mean, it's right there. Broke has nothing to do with money.
Wow.
I want you to know that.
Tweet that one.
Yes, broke has nothing to do with money. Physical health. It's not all about the exercise. It's also about your heart rate and healthy eating. You know, the importance of detoxing. I don't think there's a question of should I detox.
Indeed.
I think it's when and how often.
How soon can I get started?
Yes. This is actually a prosthesis of a breast. And I got this in 97 when we were teaching down at the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And so in this little plastic thingy, there are two types of tumors. I want to know if you can detect them both. When you're feeling that hardness and how large that is, that's a danger. That's a different stage of the tumor or the cancer.
Sure.
That requires an extensive amount of treatment to have it reduced.
Wow.
At that stage, it may be too late. Spiritual health. Everybody has to be connected to a spiritual being. It doesn't matter if we serve the same one. You need to be connected so that it will sustain you during challenging times and keep you balanced. Mental health. There's a doctor in the house, Dr. Michelle and Felicia Jameson. Social health. William Craig III and Dwayne Ross. Financial health. That's me, Tracy Everett Duncan, but you can call me Ted. Physical health. Welcome, Dion Shaw Bush. She's going to take your breath away. And spiritual health is the premise of our program. It's all of us. So connect with us. MentorMe Memorable Moments. You can find us on social media, www.mentorme411.com, Twitter @MentorMe411, and Facebook, MentorMe Memorable Moments. And our home is right here with Listen Vision Studios, And we are live at Sunday, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at WLVS Radio. We'll be looking for you. MentorMe Memorable Moments. You are here tonight live with us for our social health platform. And with me are our social health broadcasters, Dwayne Ross. Hey, he's over the chop. We're going to hear him in a minute. And
William Craig III.
Oh, and I know you're missing this face. I miss this face too. Well, we want to say welcome to 150 nations and all 50 states. We are excited about this night, you know. So, you know what, Dwayne? We always start off with the chop, and I know you got something exciting you want to talk to us about.
I surely do. So let's do it.
This is a kingdom. Put up, it's the chop. It's time to bring that weight to the front. It's time to chop it up. Let's get it. For sure, we gon' just call this the chop. Big up Epiphany. It's the chop. Let's get it. Chop. Let's go. Hey, what does it take to make you chop? Maybe.
Hey, what's up? It make you chop. Hey, y'all, man. Hey.
Swinging.
What's happening? Man, it seems like it's been too long.
I know.
I need a weekly daily show. I need a daily show.
Okay.
Steve Harvey called me up. Y'all tweet it out. Tell Steve them to call me.
Okay.
Oh man, I got to tell you, these last couple of months, just talking about this topic has just been transformational. Transformational. I've had like these little moments with people where I'll just do a little quick. I'll do a survey. I'll say, so what's your opinion about the incarceration rate of women? And they'll say, what do you mean?
Wow.
And it's amazing because they have no idea. They don't know that rate has doubled, tripled, and quadrupled to over 600%. They don't know.
Wow.
Right? I talked to them about the incarceration rate of our kids. And they say, well, they should stop doing crime. And so we have this other conversation about, okay, so what do you think creates that? Why do you think that they do it? And so then I'll have another conversation with someone else, and we talked about, well, people need jobs, people need to have nice housing.
Right.
But what happens when you come out with a felony? Are you able to get housing? Are you able to get a job? Are you stigmatized for the rest of your life?
Depends.
And here's the deal. Well, there's these people who truly subscribe to the idea that, well, you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Okay.
Got to first have a pair of boots.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so we want them to pull up their boots, but, pull by the bootstraps, but do they have boots? And so what we run into is something that has culminated recently in a very poignant documentary. So today, I kind of want to put some light on this documentary that came out called The 13th. And it's by Ava DuVernay. You guys know her, right? She was the one who produced and directed Selma. And, of course, she was doing a lot more before Selma,
Right.
but this was that
was the breakout.
the breakout, right? And so once she won her Oscar, she actually went to work on this documentary.
Okay.
And it was Netflix who actually called her and said, hey, we have some money because we're branding our own movies now, and we really want you to put some weight behind this topic of documentary. And she already had someone who reached out to her regarding this 13th Amendment. So next slide, Mike. So here's the deal. we talked about the school to prison pipeline on brown and black youth. And this was a really interesting little piece that was shared in reference to the rethinking of schools. And a young man in 11th grade said, you know what? My family has been locked up. Most days I feel like it doesn't even matter. All right. So next slide, Mike. If he's feeling it doesn't matter, it's because what has happened over time is he's bought into some of the things that we hear. And if anybody's been on the website, or you've been to my site, you know that I always put this up. Nothing is in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And I think that this particular movie about the 13th Amendment kind of highlights what happens in the incarceration rate of our young people and our black and brown boys. Because what happened with us as males, I had to look at my own life and see, where did this fit for me and my sons and my nephews? And I've asked young ladies and mothers and moms, what do they feel about this whole idea, except as punishment for crime, about the 13th Amendment, where it says in the next slide, Mike, it talks to us about the 13th Amendment, and it shares with us that, you are free. During the Emancipation Proclamation, it was proclaimed that you're free, you can go free, you can do all these different things. But there was a loophole left in the law. And, we have president after president talking about closing loopholes. But this is a loophole that allows for lawful slavery and servitude because of the statement, except as punishment for crime. So it says that, if you committed a crime, then we have the right to put you to work. So therefore, now I have from slavery to legalize work camps. And back in the day when this happened, we had the old Jim Crow, but now the incarceration of our young black and brown boys is being called the new Jim Crow. And this was highlighted in Michelle Alexander's book, where she said the new Jim Crow. This is where so many people are actually taking the time to really think about this incarceration rate and what does it mean to us as a society. See, as a society, we have a power structure that says it's okay to put people away, to incarcerate them for minor crimes. And we have a school system that says, okay, if you raise up against your teacher, then instead of sending you to the principal's office, we now send you to detention centers. And so our children are being put away in these systems, and then our men are being constantly placed into these systems. And so we really want to start talking about these areas that were highlighted in the 13th documentary that talks about this incarceration rate. Because when you really think about fatherless homes, where are the fathers? In the what we call the African American or the low income communities, because in low income communities you don't see a whole lot of non-black and brown people. Not to say that they're not there, but it's how this has been perpetuated over time in our society. We have this idea that if a person just commits an infraction, then they have to pay. But how long should they have to pay? Should they have to pay for the rest of their life? Should they be stigmatized and put away? Or every time that they need to now try to take care of their family, they're faced with the fact that they have this blotch on their background. And unfortunately as well, we have a lot of political people who are in political power, prosecuting attorneys. And the first step that they have for a young man to make is, don't go to trial with your situation. Just go straight to the judge. And then we have what's called mandatory sentences. When they go before the judge just rules what's on the paperwork. There's no more, let me think about it, let me weigh the odds, let me weigh what the problems are. here's the mandatory sentence for this particular crime.
Is that because there are so many of those crimes going on that the judge and the courts are just overbooked and it's going to be the same old thing?
Can I answer that? Because what it is it's systemic, number one. And the reason why it's systemic is because of the way the laws are written.
Exactly.
And that's the bottom line. If the laws were written differently, then there would be more flexibility in the system, no matter how many crimes are committed. But at the end of the day, because the law is written in such a way that it precludes the judge from even having opinion.
Right. He can't give an opinion.
He can't give an opinion.
As a matter of fact. And most people, they're used to seeing on television a person goes before the judge and the jury, and they go back and forth and weigh the case, and that's really not what's happening with many of these cases. They're just going into a room with a judge and a couple of people making a decision. They're plea bargaining even though they know they're not guilty.
And I know part of your, to speak to part of your point that wasn't said but that is inferred, is that within our system, because there are so many crimes and quote unquote the courts are overpopulated, and as with even we see throughout corporate America today that companies and government agencies are having to do more with less from a human resources standpoint, the bottom line is that supposedly each person is entitled to be confront a jury of their peers, if you will.
Right.
And so now, if that be the case, if that be the standard bearer,
Don't
then,
say it.
Well,
Don't say it.
It has to come forth. Say it, William. Because that's part of the problem.
Most of the
right?
jury of the peers are being locked up too.
and at the end of the day, then that means that the legal system has to be self-correcting. It has to find a way to make sure that each individual
Gets
has
an opportunity.
the opportunity to go before a jury of their peers.
Okay, well,
And here's what happened back in 2009. There's a gentleman by the name of Jerome Miller. He was over the what you call the incarceration of young people in Massachusetts. And anyway, what he did was he said, there is another way that we could do this. Why don't we get people out of reform schools and close them down? And he actually said, okay, we can do something different than locking these young men away into these reform schools, because that's what it used to be before detention centers took over. Right. And he said, let's see if we can put them back into society. And he found ways that they were actually able to do so. So that was a solution. It was a solution that said, let's give them something and show them that they're worth something. But here's a society that we are seeing right now in 2016, slavery being, okay, where it allows people to now be incarcerated, put away, and then there's no, okay. So, and there's no answer for them. Now, 1 out of 4 in the world, this is the world statistics.
Right.
Of people incarcerated, 1 out of 4. However, in the United States, 5% we're only 5% of the world population.
But yet, go ahead.
And we have over 25% of those incarcerated.
Right. We do more. We put away more of our own people than any
other nation. But this is supposed
world.
to be a free nation. And for our young people, it starts in school. For our older people, it starts with basic crimes. This person in past times, if they had a drug situation, that was a health issue. Well, now it's just treated as if it's a criminal act. So, in order for us to move forward, we have to look at some of the themes that were brought out in this whole 13th Amendment documentary. One of the themes is understanding how are we as a society going to support or make amends for what has happened with the many young males who are currently incarcerated. Because in the future, there will be a justice day. We're going to have to reckon.
Let me ask you, is that before or after the 40 acres and a mule?
There is no 40 acres.
We're not getting that.
Or, that's just not going to happen. When we look at the structures that are in place, now it's more criminal. The police officers that are on the streets have been taught to use force.
Shoot first.
They are now shooting first. they're not negotiating with anyone. We have seen individuals shot down in the street with their hands up. All right.
Excuse the phrase, but butt naked.
Yeah, laying on their
Yeah.
backs.
Yeah.
And they were a threat. And then people are getting acquitted when they just say, well, I feared for my life.
Right, because
So
the law allows for
it's
that.
systemic and it's inside the law. Another thing they talked about in this whole idea was the war on drugs. Okay, that was one of the things that everybody in society said, yes, we need to do something about this drug. This is an epidemic. It's happening in every city. Well, sure, it was happening in every city. You know, unfortunately, though, the way in which the weight of the law comes down when a person violates the law has not been equal across the board.
That's correct.
And because of that, these policies that are in place have to be engaged and addressed. And we have to have more conversations about what can we do to reduce these
But conversations
long-term
with
consequences.
who?
Well, that's
Because
just it.
the
It has to
court
be with the
systems know this.
lawmakers.
Yeah.
It has to be with the lawmakers because you have to understand, number one, the police who enforce the law, the judges who then are given the responsibility of carrying out the law. Neither of those two, if you will, has any motivation.
No, they don't.
And so at the end of the day,
They're not the
we,
decision
the
makers.
people, have to be
It
the
comes
ones
down to the
to
people.
challenge the people who write the laws.
And the people we vote into office and how we actually structure the people who make decisions in the courtroom. If you think about going back to 1980s, when there were 5 gentlemen, it was called the Central Park Five, right? They were accused of raping and, of a young white female, and they were all incarcerated. They were 14 to 16. They were under 18 years old. One particular person was interrogated over 31 hours without a parent. They were all found guilty, placed into jails for years until someone actually identified what they needed to do in order to fight this case. All right. Well, here's the thing. The prosecuting attorney knew that they had evidence that could be entered into, evidence that would actually vindicate them. However, was running for office and knew that if that information was put forth, it would damage the future of the position she was going to hold.
Oh, I know.
So, that's part of it as well. There are these systems in place that, as you said, systemic, where it's from the beginning all the way through to the process. And then, we talked about the prisons, and one of the past episodes that we talked about was the number of prisons that are going up right now and how they're actually being run, right? Privatization of prisons. Okay. So here's the situation as well. Corporations, which we talked about this, corporate greed, have created an opportunity for people to invest in the prison system. And when they invest, they're looking for what? A return on investment.
Sure.
So how do they get their return on investment? Well, they get it by how many bodies are inside those rooms and how long they're there.
It's got to
So
be
I have to
profitable.
fill them. So I have to relax on how I get a person to that room so I can fill up more of that room so that I can now make sure that my shareholders, get their money.
So let's go back to then how do you correct this? What are some of the solutions we can use to make this right? And I think you mentioned you got to look at your elected officials. Now, when we're looking at elected officials, we're looking at the president, we're looking at the state, the Senate, the House. We're not looking at the local officials.
Yeah, it's all of the above. I mean, if you write law, and it's all of the above because even the president has, as we have been reminded of over and over during the past administration, has the right for executive orders. So at any level, our lawmakers, if you will, our elected officials can be lawmakers. And so whether it be, again, state, national, the bottom line is these are the people that we have to hold their feet to the fire.
Accountability.
Unfortunately, the protests, that have gone on, the protests in the street, they don't move your elected officials. They do not move the lawmakers.
Right.
I am not suggesting that you go to the home of the lawmakers. However, I would say that if that did happen, one might get a better response. Quite honestly.
Or get locked up.
Well, see, here's the thing too, because we don't want to say that people shouldn't, protest. We got to look at how
there's a way to protest.
The world, how the world responded to the protests of the 50s, 60s. When Martin Luther King and the groups were out in the streets, they brought about what was called awareness, because that's the part that we do when we protest the right way, if you will.
Okay.
Unfortunately, over time, they've created laws that doesn't even allow you to walk the streets the same way that they did back then. It doesn't allow you to even raise your voice a certain way, because once you raise your voice, you're seen as someone who's antagonizing and against the system.
Let me jump in there for a minute, because I went to vote the other day. And while online, there was a judge who came down the line to of course, say hello to all of the people. Okay. But so here I was in what I felt was a great opportunity to say, I don't want to just see you come election day.
Okay.
And it was like a gasp. It was like, oh my God, did he really just say that to this judge?
Yes.
And I said, well, saying to myself, yeah, because here we go. He went through this. He was going through a litany of all he had done for the community. Yet, number one, I never heard of him. And so I said to my wife while we were standing there, I said, this guy's talking about all he's done. I said, but if I don't know his name, then obviously he has not made an impact on my life. And if he's asking me for a vote to impact his life, there needs to be some recompense here. And so when I said this, then he went through this whole litany of all of the places where he'd been, and I named my community, and I said, but you haven't been there. And he said, well, I haven't been invited.
Oh,
well, here's the thing, too, and people
Okay.
say that all the time. They say they haven't been invited, you won't come to the table, I'm here for you, come to my door, right? And so we have to go in, up to those doors. We have to go knock on the door and demand meetings with these individuals. But when we go, we have to have an agenda. What a lot of times we have rhetoric.
Right.
We come with our emotion, and we have to now be more strategic in our application of information
Which
with
speaks back
these
to
individuals.
Tracy's point about accountability for our elected officials. And so I took his card. I know my mayor personally. And so that is one of the conversations, if this gentleman is actually reelected, that I will have the conversation with my mayor to say, this judge says that you have not invited him to come to our community to speak to our issues. And so part of the accountability when it's time for you to get reelected is going to be, how many of these people have you sat down with, have you brought to the table for us to talk to, so that they can represent what our issues are. You as mayor know what our issues are.
But let me jump in here. Okay, and because it goes back to what you said as far as the solutions, it's a process. And this process can be long and it can be frustrating, and then people start quitting and they think that it's a lot of red tape and I don't want to be bothered with it, and so there is really no solution.
Right. You hear people saying that now. They're saying all of this work that we've done in the society, and it's just going to waste. And they're not seeing all of the positives. We have to remind people of where we are and where we've come from. One of the things, there are three things that I think that this particular movie documentary helps us really look at. Number one, get educated. It's just for awareness right now. So you'll see some things that will in 13th that will give you awareness. If you have Netflix, if you have some way to do that, you want to take some time, 100 minutes, because that's as long as it is, 100 minutes, and just go over the information. Then take some time and go to the library and do your research. Get down there to the archives.
Right.
In order for them to do this video, this documentary, they had to go in and spend countless hours getting archived information.
But for the digital babies, you can stay right home, Netflix, YouTube, congressional hearings. I mean, they have those stories, and you get it right from the horse's mouth, too.
Exactly.
The testimonies are right there.
It's right there. Another thing is, interrogate the way that you think.
Right.
Because a lot of times you're getting it from hearsay, you're getting it from third generation, you get it from grandpa, grandma, you get it from a teacher who doesn't have all the information. I was
Right.
talking to a young man who's in college, and I said, hey, you know what are they teaching you right now in reference to, Black history? Because he's in a college Black history course.
Okay.
And he said, Carter G. Woodson was a pretty cool guy. And I said, well, what did he do? What was the name of the book that he couldn't tell me the name of the
my
book.
gosh. Okay.
He said the education of Black people or something. I said the miseducation of the Negro, and he's a college student.
Oh my gosh, they're not interested.
They also need to understand that this is not unique. This is historical. We have been fighting this fight since we
Yeah.
came to this planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Since we were brought to this area, this is what we've been doing. It's historical. And in history, we've shown that as long as we stay united, as long as we stay educated about what we're trying to do, we move forward. We only move a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're constantly moving forward.
And you know what? That's another program. As long as we stay united.
Yes.
Are we really
Because
united?
that's another
Yeah,
question
okay.
about unity.
All
So we
right.
talked about engaging the mindset, developing principle life, success principles, expanding the economics of the opportunities, helping them develop empowerment, self-empowerment, as well as other things. We have to engage the negative thinking that's in our community, and then also show them the positive things that's going on, build positive environments through, education and, of course, entrepreneurship. So those are some of the things, and then have you come to your own conclusion. Do you think this is just racism? Do you think this is racist? Do you think this is just the way America works? What do you really believe after you look at the information? And then I spoke to some people in reference to what I call white silence, because I want to challenge people who are non-brown and Black, whose families have not been affected, not to stand by, because we talked about cognitive dissonance. And so we'll be talking about that when we come back.
Oh, cannot wait. I cannot
so that's gonna
wait.
be part of this conversation. So
No, I cannot wait.
we
Okay,
don't want to
so-
maintain this slavery
Right.
mentality, and we don't want to continue to
Right.
have what they call collateral consequences.
And so what we're going to do is step the community through the process to either understand and help you understand if you are wanting to become that community advocate, these are the steps that you take, or what to expect when somebody comes into your neighborhood seeking change.
Right. So you can challenge the change that you look,
Yes,
and
yes.
be the change.
That's
Be
right.
that
Be
you're
the
looking
change.
for.
Be the
Gandhi.
change.
That's
Hashtag
Gandhi.
be the change. Okay.
Exactly.
So we know how to get in contact with you. We saw
All
your
right.
Yes.
slide
Good
up.
stuff. Good
Woo,
stuff.
always good
I'm looking
stuff.
forward to people to communicate with us on Facebook. Definitely tweet and Twitter. Let's continue this dialogue past
Right.
7. What time is
And
it?
come on in the
7
studio. Come on in the studio or dial into the studio. We want to hear from you too. Okay, so you know what, William?
What?
Hey, you got a whole nother segment coming up for us.
Got another
too.
segment.
Yeah, he
Excited
is your
about it.
business coach, William Craig III.
Thank you so much. And with that, let's get right into it, because Dwayne's last slide talked about opportunities for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
But what we're going to do as we go through these future segments here is talk a little bit about the how-tos, because that was the feedback that I received, that people want to know the how-tos. And for some, the quote-unquote entrepreneurial piece is great, but my first step or my building block has to start with me getting a job. My first step means I need to have some income coming in so that it can support me while I'm building
That's right.
that entrepreneurial opportunity.
Where
So
My
what
bill.
happens when they
That's
don't
right.
have access to jobs because of the fact that they have a felony or something like that?
Well, again, this is about what I say. You got to talk to the folks who can make those things happen, and they are in position to make resources available. There are resources available. Oftentimes, people just don't know about those resources.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're looking at them as well, because when you
Bottom
say go
line.
get a job first, and it's like, look, bro, I tried to get a job. I've been trying to do this
remember
for a while.
though, we're addressing this because a segment in our audience has said they need to hear this.
I hear you.
And so, though it doesn't represent the views of all and opinions of all, at the same time, there are a good number who have said, "This is my reality, and there's your bell."
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
And so we're wanting to be realistic, and we're wanting to be well-rounded as we disseminate information, because there are people in all of those situations.
Yes.
And so for those who are saying, hey, either A, I'm in a job, or B, I'm trying to get a better job, or I have no job and need a job, let's talk about some of the things that you can do as it relates to your marketing strategy. So Mike, if you would please, let's get this party started.
I'm feeling upbeat already.
All right.
In this week's video, we're going to go over how to give an awesome elevator speech. That's coming up. Hey guys, I'm Kim with SnagJob, your #1 source for hourly jobs, and welcome to our weekly advice show. As a job seeker, you never know when an opportunity to land a job comes along. An elevator speech is a quick and simple way to sell yourself to the employer and show them who you are. Even though the name implies that you'd only use this in an elevator, you can actually use this at job fairs or even while following up on your application. You should never say,
well, my name is Jane. I was born in a small town in North Dakota weighing like 8 pounds. My mom always said I was the cutest baby she ever did see.
Preview.
So here we go.
Yes.
When you're looking at what you got to do or what your focus should be, is your personal marketing tools have to make you be different. I went to an interview once, and I walked into the interview and said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. However, today, as we approach sharing of information, I want you to know I have a theme, and it is different but not strange. And so very unique positioning, if you will.
I like that.
But it caught their attention.
Right.
I was able to take control of the interview and give them an actual platform from which I could speak. That I'm going to show you some things. We're going to talk today, and I'm going to show up a little bit differently than you're accustomed to seeing candidates show up. And yet, nothing that you'll see here is strange. And they loved it. And the long story short is that I did get the job. But at the end of the day, that's part of what you got to bring to the table. And this is whether you're in business or a job. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you've got to find a way to stand out from the crowd. Let's cue up the next slide. And so by creating a personal marketing plan, what are we talking about? So glad you asked. And let's leave this slide up for just a moment so we can get through some of these. So first and foremost is what we call the elevator pitch, also known as your 30-second commercial.
Okay.
And we're going to actually visit that in just a moment.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, your 30-second commercial is your way to let a prospective employer know who you are, what you're about, and make a decision as to whether there should be a conversation.
That's kind of hard to do.
Bottom line, it can be, but again, that's what practice is for. So we get to this a little bit later. I'll show you what it looks like. So we make it real simple for you.
Thank you.
The next is your cover letter. What is the whole purpose of a cover letter? It is not to tell your life story.
Okay.
It's not to beg and plead. Oh, please give me an opportunity. Oh, please let me have an interview with you. No, it's simply, here's why you should be considered.
Yeah, that's why you should hire me.
And if your cover letter takes up the majority of the page, it's too long. It should simply be the thing that introduces you and says, here's why I think I'm a good candidate.
But how do I choose what things I should say?
Yeah,
Well,
is there like some kind of standard on how much information you should put on there?
Here's the bottom line to it is this is part of what individual coaching will do, because everyone's situation is different. At the end of the day, though, the short answer to the question is, how do we know what we should include? We should include the highlights that are pertinent to that particular opportunity, number one. And number two, some sort of hook that speaks to, and here's why, here's what I'd like to do for you. Let's talk about how I can make these same sort of achievements happen at your place of business.
Right, I like that.
And your question, the answer is, at the end of the day, yes, there is a standard, but the standard will be apropos for each individual based on what the answers to Tracy's question is, what those highlights are and what you're looking to do. Okay.
All right.
But again, if you're talking how many paragraphs should I have, One or two, it should suffice. If you can't say it in one or two, then you're really defeating the purpose.
Because I've seen people with 3 and 4 page cover letters,
no way.
and you're saying that people just don't have the time.
It's not going to
read all
happen.
That stuff.
No.
It's
not going to happen.
It's going in the file with 13.
Yeah,
Okay.
The virtual file 13. Let's go back to that slide. The resume. The biggest problem that most people have with their resume is showing their accomplishments, showing what makes them a superstar. People have a problem with bragging on themselves.
They do.
And this is what the resume is meant to do. It's meant to brag about why you are the best candidate. In other words, why I should take the time to bring you in and talk to you about the position that I have.
Because I'm marvelous.
Oh, marvelous, darling. And here's why. And now here's what makes you marvelous. You got to quantify. That's the other side of that.
How
If
many
you don't
this and that?
quantify, give me some numbers. So I'm marvelous because I had 2,500 clients and a 97% approval
Yes.
rating. That's what makes me marvelous. I'm marvelous because I came into an organization and was able to reorganize their call center in such a way that we were able to get more calls through in less time and have a larger client satisfaction
That's
rate.
right.
Or
That's right.
I managed the project, kept it under budget, ahead of schedule, and yet the client was satisfied. These are the things that
Yes.
show that you are marvelous.
Yes.
Well, I think that's where people have a big challenge too, because they
Totally.
don't know, they haven't been taking care of their metrics.
That's
They
right,
really haven't
totally.
been
That's right.
tracking what kind of real results they had.
Exactly.
They say, I did a good job. Well, what does that
But
mean?
right.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's, again, and that's why it's on the slide. Let's go back to the slide because I'm not looking at the clock and I want to make sure that we end on time here. But here we go. So your resume has to do that. And there are some standards as it relates to how the resume should be set up in today's marketplace. But here we go. It differs based on whether you are going for a government
That's right,
opportunity
that's right.
or a private sector opportunity. And that's very important to know.
Yes.
Because a government resume is very different from
Yes,
a private
it
sector
is.
resume.
And nonprofit.
And nonprofit, but the nonprofit and the private sector pretty much go hand in hand. The government resume is the one where you're going to want it to be as long as
That's
you can
right.
make it.
That's
You're going to
right.
want to talk about everything you did
That's right.
since you were 18 years old that contributes to the position that you're looking for. You're going to include things like salary information as well. Whereas in a private industry resume, that type of information is not really apropos unless it's requested.
In a government resume, even the little things like a volunteer opportunity or something that you did in a summer camp may not look very effective for you, but believe me, they do count those things
Most
too when
definitely.
they're considering you.
And I think another thing about government is there's a lot of veterans out there, or they've been involved and they don't realize that there's a couple of other categories besides just being a vet that they might qualify for. So they
Right.
have to look for those qualifications. You might be a Schedule A, or maybe you have a
That's
certain
right.
percentage disability,
Exactly.
and you don't realize that
You
you don't
have
have to
points
have
for
your
that.
full disability or even a disability letter if you can get your Schedule A set for.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and there's so much that goes into that. We talk about transferable skills, etc. But let's go back to the slide.
This
But
is
at
good
the end of the
stuff.
day, this is what a coach can help you with. Because you may not know, and you may be saying, well, I've been putting my stuff out there, but I haven't been getting anything back. Look, at the end of the day, this whole electronic thing, you need to stay away from that. And what does that mean? What it really means is that you need to connect with a person. And we'll talk more about that. So here we go. A business or networking card. So, hey, William, I'm trying to get a job. Are you telling me that I need to have a business card that says that? Well, yes. You can actually have a business card that
Yes.
speaks to who you are as a professional. As you saw on the slide, they spoke to having an objective statement on the back with some bullet points that just highlight why you're marvelous, darling.
Yeah.
Okay? So at the end of the day, this is the thing that you can give out as you meet people because, number one, they really don't want to hear your whole life story. Many of them are kind, and they will listen for a while, and then you will see their head start to turn.
Yep.
Because they really don't have time to listen to your whole story, number one. Number two, they don't want to hear your whole story.
Right.
Why should I give you an opportunity? Why should I refer you to my friend who has an opportunity? That's what your card is going to do. It's like the 30-second elevator pitch in that it piques their interest. And then the last thing on that card, just a little hint here, this is extra, I'm not going to charge you for this, is where you've got a hook that says, when can we talk about what I can do for you?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk quickly about the thank you note. And so with the thank you note, you should have 2 thank you notes. One is going to be written in a hard copy. The other one's going to be written electronically, so that once you leave that interview, once you leave that encounter with that individual, you're going to say, hey, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Really appreciate it. By the way, when we talked about XYZ, man, that really showed me, it really affirmed for me that this might be a great opportunity for me.
Oh,
it really
I love
affirmed
it.
that I'd be a great fit for that opportunity. Can't wait to talk to you more about it.
Another thing too is I actually sent a card, an actual physical card,
Right.
And I had it prepared when I went to the interview,
Most
so that as soon as
definitely.
I left, I can go ahead and turn that in. And it
so-
was interesting.
Right.
I got a call back saying,
That's
"I
right.
really appreciate that you sent that."
So here we go. At the end of the day, you want to have both. You want to have them done. You want to create your own template, because the only thing that's going to change is the name of the company, the person that you're sending it to,
Right.
and the little highlights about what we talked about.
That's right.
And then last but not least on this list is a website, a blog, a podcast, or other online presence. Folks, you got YouTube, you got Facebook pages, you got LinkedIn. There's a plethora of opportunity for you to make yourself known online.
Right.
Why not represent yourself as the professional? Send people to that page, that website, that video, etc., that will give a potential employer more information about who you are and what it is that you can bring to the table. Let's go to the next
But
slide.
be not deceived, because they're looking at your other social media.
Yes.
I was just going to
And
say
we
that,
talked
because that's
about
actually
that.
what
Yes,
companies
yes,
are
we
being
did.
taught right now for leadership, is to look for their social media
Yes.
Well,
footprint.
you
to see
gotta
exactly
you gotta
what they're
clean
doing.
it up in
That's
many cases, and we'll
No
if we
poopy.
can get to it, we'll talk about that. But here's your elevator pitch, Tracy. This
Yes.
is what it looks like. Here. So okay, we demystified it for you. Number 1, I am. Introduce yourself and tell them your brand. What is your brand? Great question. I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
Your brand simply is a promise that you make to your consumers, and in this case, the employer. And so, hi, I'm William Craig. I'm the guy who helps you go from where you are to where you want to be.
And I'm the one that will help you sleep at night.
Okay, there you go. That's her brand. Number 2, I can. What is the experience? I can show you in just a few steps how you can potentially be hired within the next 6 weeks.
And I can help you determine if your child is on drugs.
There you go. I'd like to explore. So this speaks to what job you're campaigning for. So whatever the job title is that you're looking for, that's what you would say. And so in this case, I'd say, I'd really like to work with you as your personal coach.
And I am your drug test consultant.
And finally, when's a good time for us to follow up and determine how we might be able to work together?
Do you want to meet me in person or online?
There you go. See, the goal here is to get an interview or referral. At the end of the day, so how hard was that?
That wasn't
Miss
hard
Lady?
at all.
Oh, that's so hard. Until you know how to do it, right?
That's right.
So here we go. We demystified it for you. And if you can follow that little script, guess what? You got it.
It's
and
actually
you say
script.
the same
It is.
And I
thing
think that's where
over
people get
and
caught
over
up.
and over.
Yes.
They don't realize if you have a script, you have a planned idea in your head, so that way you know not to miss certain things. Because if you don't say it, then what happens? You lose yourself in that conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's go on to the next slide.
This is good.
Thank you. So glad you invited me today. And so we have a video that talks about what your elevator pitch should sound like. Do we have that queued up? All right, let's go to the
Great,
video.
thanks.
Speech. That's coming up. Hey guys, I'm Kim with SnagJob, your #1 source for hourly jobs, and welcome to our weekly advice show. As a job seeker, you never know when an opportunity to land a job comes along. An elevator speech is a quick and simple way to sell yourself to the employer and show them who you are. Even though the name implies that you'd only use this in an elevator, you can actually use this at job fairs or even while following up on your application. You should never say,
Well, my name is Jane. I was born in a small town in North Dakota weighing like 8 pounds. My mom always said I was the cutest baby she ever did see. And that was the year I graduated from middle school. Good times. All right, I think we're finally all caught up. So, do you think I'd be a good fit?
Hi, I'm Zach. I'm graduating high school and need some money. I don't have any experience except in playing video games, but I think that means I could press buttons on the cash register pretty quick. What do you say? Want to hire me?
An elevator speech should be quick, simple, and organized. The employer should walk away knowing who you are and what skills you bring to the table. A good example would be,
Hi, I'm Lacey, a junior at Northern Arizona University. Simply put, I love talking to people. My experience in retail and food service for the past 5 years has made me fall in love with customer service. I've learned to be a problem solver, a great team member, and a leader. I'd love to bring these skills to your company and build upon my previous experience.
whether you're standing in line at the movies, at a job fair, or even in an actual elevator, a well thought out pitch can bring you one step closer to landing that job. Big shout out to our friends at Northern Arizona University who asked us to make this video. I hope you found it helpful. Thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, please let us know below so we know to keep making videos like this.
Very
And
good.
if you have any questions,
And so again, trying to demystify the process of putting together your elevator pitch so that it represents you in a way that shines the very best light on you. So let's go to the next slide, please. And so here's some bonus information.
Okay. Yeah, leave my bell alone.
Here we go. Meet people who know people. I'm not going to sing the song. Go to the
I
next
know.
slide. But at the end of the day, you need to network. What does that look like? First and foremost, create a contact list. Remember back in the day when you were going for all these network marketing opportunities and they said you to build a list?
Yes.
Well, guess what? You need to build a list for this. Now, let me just say this, because I know a lot of people have a problem with telling people that maybe you're not working, you're between gigs, however you say it. But here's a way that you can say it that will make you feel better about sharing it with others. And that is simply this. Hey, I'm looking for a new opportunity. If you hear of something, would you let me know?
Yes.
Yeah, nice and easy.
How about that?
That's it. That's all.
Real easy.
Nice opportunity.
There are things called job clubs. You can look them up online. In your county, your city, I'll guarantee you can find a job club nearby. Attend workshops, conferences. As you're looking to better yourself, as you're looking to learn new
Always,
things,
always.
going to workshops and conferences. Again, have your networking card, have your 30-second pitch ready, and this is a great opportunity for you to meet people who know people.
Right.
It may not be
Themselves
about
into
the opportunity that they have, but it might be about the opportunity that they can introduce you to.
Exactly.
The next piece on the line, the next bullet point starts to talk about things that you can do. Joining or starting a meetup group. So maybe there's
Yep.
a meetup group in your area that is already centered around helping people find work within your industry. Or if not, guess what? You can start it. People will come.
It's at meetup.com.
Meetup.com.
All right.
Create or update a LinkedIn profile.
Yes,
If you do not have a LinkedIn
please.
profile, you got to have one. Here we go, but you got to do it correctly. If you connect with me, I can show you how to do that. We can make it happen for you so that you can be a superstar on LinkedIn. But most importantly, what we're being told is that within the next 5 years, this is where employers are going to go.
Oh, yeah, they're
We're
going
not
there
going to be
now.
but we're
Yeah.
not going to be sending resumes per se.
Nope.
We're going to be sending them
Profile.
to our LinkedIn profile.
Right.
So you want to take a look at that. And Dwayne, you just mentioned Facebook a moment ago. Notice I put update, which might mean Pookie Nim,
Duck lips.
all of them.
Even your
Pushed out
name, you know,
all of them.
You have to watch how you put your name
You
out
may
there.
need to unfriend them for a minute,
Yeah.
okay, while you're in this quest for a new opportunity,
right.
so that you are not found guilty by association.
Oh, yeah,
Can they
don't forget
create
your
their
phone.
own page? Can you create your own page in Facebook?
Well, people typically have a page, but if you're saying, can you create another page? Well, certainly you can. The problem is, though, that some way, shape, or form, it's out there on the internet. People, if they do just a search of your name, they will probably see both.
Right.
So you want to go through cleanup.
But what you might want to
what's
do
there.
is change your profile picture where
you definitely
you
would.
definitely put your business
You're
side
gonna have
to a different
right,
picture.
almost
because,
definitely.
you
You
might not
gotta
even have that.
unfriend Pookie Nim in the. Look, for those of you who may not understand who Pookie Nim are, don't worry, you're fine.
Or your strong opinions too.
Right, that's right. That's
It may
right.
not be Pookie, and it might be your strong opinions.
It may be your strong opinions, and it also may be, as Jimmy Carter found out, he had a brother named Billy. That's all I'm gonna say. You should know what that means.
Yes.
So what's left here?
Association.
What's left, Michael? What's left? Throw that up there. Get started, folks. That's what's next. I've given you enough in this 27-minute segment here to get you started on the right road. But if by chance you need some help, what's that next slide say, Mike? If by chance you need some help, you don't have to go it alone. Alrighty,
That's right.
here you go.
Contact you.
You can contact me at williamcraig3.clickbook.net. That's williamcraig3.clickbook.net or at mentorme411.com.
Oh man, this is great. This is
Yeah, I
great. You
think
know
it's
what?
important.
William did a segment. Series rather last season, and he talked about how to start your home-based business. You know, and the different segments kind of brought out how you can create a product with no money down.
Yes.
How you can get paid for a product through product links. I
Right.
mean, no
Right.
money down.
PLR
All
product.
kinds. Oh my goodness, it was an awesome
Where
segment.
can they see that information?
You can go to mentorme411.com
Ah.
and you'll find both their profiles there.
Go to
as
the
well as
archive.
mine, yes.
Into the crate.
That's right, into the vault.
Yeah, the vault.
We have the 2014, 2015, and 2016 series for social health there that will help you get through anything, really, because, I mean, it's just been awesome.
Cover a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot of good
you definitely
information.
cover a lot.
And the shortcut
There's
is
no
look for the
excuse.
first Sunday of every month, and that's where you'll find Dwayne and
That's
I
right.
with this lovely lady right here talking about all the things that we've been sharing with you.
There is no excuse. Tune in to us because Dwayne's going to come back. We're really going to tackle this topic of community advocacy and all the things that are coming out of there, because I know that's not just the only issue that's happening with our
Oh,
teens.
no,
Okay,
no.
so what we're going to do is get together and start framing how we want those segments to look for you, because we want you to be able to walk away with steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also want your engagement.
Yes.
You know, you go to the page, give us some comments, talk about what you're hearing.
And
We'd
what
like
you
to
wanna
hear
hear.
from what you want to hear and what you already heard, and how more in depth you may want to go with that information. Or if you have a solution,
Yeah.
share with us your solution. What's going on in your neighborhood? What's happening in your town?
And invite us into your neighborhood. We're willing to come.
Yep.
We Skype.
We do live events.
Yes, we
Listen,
do.
I'll show up in Honolulu next week if you need me there. Just send the airfare, and we'll make sure we take care of that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
awesome things.
But
And
connect
then-
with us, through
Yeah,
social media.
seriously.
Yes. And William, you
Yes.
also have opportunity where you can sit down and engage one-on-one with individuals that are either wanting to create businesses or they're stuck mode and they don't know how to get to the next level.
Yes.
So, click on his profile, send them both emails.
Yeah.
I won't see it. No one will see your email to them, message to them, just them. Just connect with them.
We're talking about mindset changes as well.
Yeah, you gotta
You're
shift.
talking about how do you shift your thinking, shift your focus. Make sure that you have yourself in the right position so that when you get the opportunity, you don't blow that opportunity.
And I just heard somebody say, but I'm all messed up. I can't even come to you with anything because I don't even know what I want. Well, you know what? Come anyway.
Yeah, let's
help
start
you
the
frame it.
conversation.
We love sorting through things like that.
And I want to help you go from where you are to where you want to be.
That's right. That's right. And he
Love
wants
it.
to discover your tag,
Discover your
talents,
talent, your ability, and your gift.
gifts. Okay.
All right.
And I just want to bring everybody
That's a
together,
hashtag,
you know. So look, we have concluded our social health program, and we can go on and chat all day long about these issues. But what we're going to do is come back next week with our mental health program, and that's going to be Felicia Jamison, our certified healing coach,
Awesome.
and Dr. Michelle,
Oh, yeah.
who is our holistic doctor,
right.
naturopath registered doctor. And so we're going to have some excellent things to talk to you about then. But until now, we want you to be safe, be smart, be healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, 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 hey.
I'm